All right, welcome back to another episode of Lounge 11 with Femi and Samco. Samco, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, bro. Looking forward to another great episode. So,
Yeah. Always a pleasure to jump on and chat with you. So
yeah,
looking forward to this. Plenty to discuss. So, how have you been? How's your week?
great. It's been a great week following, especially when you look back at the results and how the weekend went. It's
Right.
been a great week. I'm sure most fans that feel the way I'm sure you and I feel would definitely say the same. So it's been a great week. Great
Yeah.
football week. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what you were doing on September 25th?
Oh, I remember very much. It's funny because I had to wake up 4:30. I was on the West Coast, right?
Right.
So I got
Right.
to witness what you guys witnessed in watching the game. So it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like game after game, there was
The
something
gift
for
that
us.
kept on
So
giving.
it kept on giving. So yeah, I remember exactly where I was, how it felt. It was really great.
Yeah, on the West Coast, the games start as early as 4:30. So I'm actually up usually I wake up at 2:45
Wow.
because the deadline for
To the
FPL is
FPL.
3 a.m. So you want to see if there's any
Yeah.
last minute news or anything that you missed.
Yeah.
But we wake up at 4:30, but it was a very fantastic
It was worth
4:30.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
worth
worth
it.
it. 'Cause I was up at 4. Yeah, just
Right,
before 4 a.m. was when I got up because I got home at about midnight and
right.
I was like, I need to take whatever nap I have. Because if you
Yeah.
remember, I had like 4 games back to back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a long stretch. You guys try, man. I won't even lie. I'll give that one to you guys in the West Coast for sure.
I mean, the good thing about it is that the games also get done early.
And you still
By
have your day.
noon, usually it's done, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, let's jump into it. We'll start with the first game, the one that opened things up for us that weekend. It was Brentford hosting Manchester United. I know that you had predicted that they would get something out of that game, and they got more than enough. Right?
Yeah.
It was, what was it, 3-1 to
3-1. No,
Brentford,
yeah, 3-1, 3-1.
3-1 to
Cesco,
Brentford.
yeah, 3-1. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, Sesko finally got his first goal for the club. So congratulations to him there. But I don't know, what do we even talk about Manchester United at this point that we haven't said already, right? Like
That's the thing,
they
right?
they couldn't get a back-to-back win after the Chelsea game the previous week.
And if you remember the last episode, I literally said that because you asked me a question, what did I get from Manchester United against Chelsea based on the
Right.
game? And I said, I don't think I got anything with regards to, they were one man up.
Yeah.
And it's the following game I would like to use to know, okay, are they trying to turn a corner and stuff like that? And long and behold, they didn't. Because I even said to myself, if there was anything I was going to bet on that game was Brentford. But the only reason I would bet on Brentford was in the situation that Man United had not won back-to-back games. Like that was the only logical reason for me if I was putting my money to bet on Brentford. But then again, when you look back, I think the last 3 or 4 times they've played at their stadium, Brentford has definitely given them a result. But now, bring it back to this season, they lost their manager, they lost their captain, they lost basically two of their best players as
Yeah.
well in Wissa and Mbeumo.
Yeah.
You'll be thinking, okay, Manchester United would definitely have something, but watching that game, I don't know. I think in this situation, I think only Manchester United fans would be the best people to to explain what they witness, what they are feeling, because for me, it's just like it just seems to me now like someone is on the clock. How
Yep.
long is that clock going to take? We don't know. But yeah, just to get a win against Chelsea,
And then give it
remember
back.
and give it back. And we're being told they have one game a week now. They have more time on the training ground, which was one of the
Yeah.
things, if I recall, Ruben was saying.
He has the
We're not,
players.
yeah, it has the players and everything, but still, you're just getting outplayed. And actually, there was something I remembered about that game. I don't know if you remember. The substitutions he kept making, it was like players were shifting in a
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? It was
Yeah.
like whoever was playing right
Move
wing
to the
will move to right wing back. Then the person will move to right center back. Then that right center back will move to the person playing in the middle center back and everything. And it was just like look at their last goal. How is Mbuemo trying to be the second to last man on an attacking move for Manchester United. So I don't know. I think, like I said, Manchester United fans, I think they're the only one that can break this one down for us. I think everybody know my opinion, my takes, and what I think they need to do to move forward. So I
Yeah,
guess we'll just, yeah, we'll
I
hear
don't
from
even know.
you.
Like, I don't even have anything to add. Like, we've talked about them for a few weeks straight now, and it almost seems like we're just repeating the same things over and over again. I just find it really interesting, right? That there are fans that still think. I saw a poll that I think was TNT or one of those channels did, and almost 50% of fans still think that he deserves more time, like Manchester United fans. Um, you know what? I'm not sure how that works, but yeah, if he stays, great. For the rest of the league, because I think that guy is currently out of his depths right now at Manchester United.
You know what I'll say to that? If the owners and the decision makers actually feel and believe he's the right man, by all means, I think they should ride the wave with him because there's a reason they chose him as a manager. I want to believe, right? We're
Yeah,
all going to have our own opinions and think whether he's good enough or not. But if they really think this is the man for the job, actually, let me ask you a question. Do you think they're scared to sack him?
yeah, 100%, 100%. I
Why?
think because I think who was I mentioning this to one of our chats? If you think about the journey to get here, let's start there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Ten Hag, obviously, the last few months of his stay was kind of acrimonious, right?
Yes.
He won
FA Cup,
something, and that
yes.
forced an extension.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was good. You were going to be hard pressed to let go of a manager who had just won something, right? So they gave him an extension. It was one of those extensions where it's like, okay, let's save face. It looked like I don't remember the details, but I know it was a short, like maybe a year extension or
A
something like
year
that.
extension or something, yeah.
Right.
Made
So
no
that was
sense.
the opportunity for Ineos coming in to clean house. But I think they did the right thing. They were kind of hamstrung by the fact that this guy just won something. So you kind of have to see it out. Now, in letting go of him, they had to pay whatever the rest of his contract out. Yeah, then Nistelrooy came in. So when Nistelrooy came in, there was then the chance to go get a new manager. It was very clear to everybody that Nistelrooy was an interim manager, right? And
Yep.
then they went to go get uh, Amorim out of Sporting.
Yeah.
They paid a severance fee to Sporting, from what we remember. So they
Yes.
paid
Because they got
Sporting
him
to
out of
let
his
him out
contract,
of his
yeah.
contract, and then signed him to was it 3-4 year contract?
I think it was 2.5 or 3 or
Yeah.
3.5 or
I think it was
something, yeah.
I think it was a 3 year contract if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. So now if you think about the cost of the replacement, you had to let go of Ten Hag, you had to
Mm-hmm.
pay the severance fee to Sporting, and now if you let go of this guy, you now have to pay severance again.
Another one,
And
yeah.
that's like basically admitting in less than a year that you just got it wrong. So I think there
Well, they
is
have gotten it wrong.
I think it's pretty clear to everybody that they've
Yeah.
gotten it wrong, but it's that there will be no clearer indication or admittance from Ineos because they have to come make a splash, and they've made a wrong one so far, at least by all accounts. And so I think there might be elements of that, but if it's inevitable that that guy is going, then you might as well do it sooner rather than later. I don't know, but you can't make the justification, right? Because Potter came in after he's been let
Yep.
go.
Yep.
The only other big team that performed worse, if you want to call it that, than United in the league was Spurs. But then they won the Europa Cup and they let go of that manager. So what is the case now for Amorim
Mm-hmm.
with the results that he's delivered so far? It's a
Yeah.
tough one.
I remember that of Ange. I was one of the people that said he had to be let go.
Right,
But on our clubhouse calls, we had few of the fans that said, "Oh, because he's won, he had to stay." And I said, "You can't give a man or tell a man to stay when you look at the results that he had in the league, because he
right.
had dropped down all the way to 17th." So I
Yeah,
said, for what a lot of these decision makers look at, they don't just look at that one day in winning the Europa League and say it covers everything that happened throughout the whole season. And
right,
when you look at it, rightfully so, they let Ange go because we can see in Nottingham Forest now that he's also struggling
right,
within their
right.
first, 6, 7 games. So
Yeah,
imagine him staying at Spurs do you think they would have been any better? So
Right.
I think United have to make that decision, like you said, sooner rather than later. If that is what they want to do, if that's what they believe in, I think a lot of people already, and some of their fans, I think they're already coming around to see that was a mistake, but it's still going to be up to them to see how long are they going to hold on. I don't know because if they win this weekend, I bet you he's here to the next international break.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. At this point, it's actually kind of getting almost boring talking about the same
Yeah,
thing every week. So I don't really have much, man, except you have some things you want to kind of discuss
I don't
regarding
have
my.
anything. I don't have anything to sell. I just got to tell them if Southgate is still available. So
Did you see the reaction to the last take on Southgate? Like people thought you were crazy, and now you're
yeah,
seeing the name bubble up in media.
exactly. Because I know there was a video I saw. Who was the guy? Was it
I
Joe
don't
Cole?
remember. Yeah, I think it was Joe
I
Cole
think it was
actually.
Joe Cole I saw who literally raised up the same name. And what was funny was that he literally gave the exact same reasons that I gave.
Right.
Right? So it's funny, but we'll see. We'll see. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see if they let him go. Who are the managers they will look at? I've heard some fans saying, oh, they would like to see someone like Xavi. I've even seen Fabregas and stuff like that. But we'll wait and see. So good luck to them.
Wishing them all the best. Let's move on.
Yeah.
The Chelsea Brighton game was another interesting one, right? Still
Hmm.
on the September 25th day, right? I didn't
Yeah.
see that particular game because I think there was another game going on at the same time. I think that was
Yes.
the Liverpool
Yes.
game, right? So I was
Yeah.
watching
Liverpool
that
game,
instead.
Man City game was all going at the same
Right,
time.
right. But I
Yeah.
was taking a look at the scoreline and I saw that one, they lost another man to red card, and then they actually ended up losing the game 3-1. So
Yeah.
I've seen the highlights. Nothing really surprising. I think I predicted that Brighton was going to get something out of the
Get
game. I
something.
didn't
Yeah. You
think
said
that
so.
3 points was
They were
it
gonna be
was
greedy.
3 points and 3 goals is crazy.
Yeah.
But what did you make of that game?
It was an interesting game. I actually watched it. I watched it at the same time as I was watching Liverpool's game. Chelsea, I'll say the first half they were trying. I'll say they were a little bit better than I've seen them in the last few weeks. But in the second half, when they got that, before they even got the red card, I think Brighton were trying to build up into the game and stuff like that. But once they got that man advantage, it was all peppery. Like it was just wave after wave. And I remember I tweeted in one of our groups that if Chelsea is able to hold on to this lead or at worst keep it to a draw, I'll actually give them a good credit because the amount of attacks that Brighton were just pumping at their post, I was like, I don't see how they do it. If they do it, especially with 10 men, very, very impressive. And within how many minutes, it was just blam, blam, blam. And then the
Yeah,
game was over. And in terms of Chelsea, it's like they just reminded me of Arsenal last season, at the beginning of last season, when we had those disciplinary issues. Because that was literally what we were doing last season, and we're just dropping stupid results. Even game we were winning, like the way they were winning this game against Brighton, and the next thing you get a man sent off and
right,
you find
right, right.
yourself losing that game. So that was the first thing that came to my head. How do they go from there? I don't know because I know this weekend is another tough game. They have some injuries as we've seen. Palmer is out. They got another red card in their center back, so I don't even know the center back pairing they're going to use this weekend. In terms of their wingers, I still haven't gotten anything from them. I'm sorry. I just haven't seen anything from that attacking force that would help them in the meantime, especially with Palmer out. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, I think I said this last week that I think a lot of us got swamped with that Club World Cup win. I think we really
You
did because I
called it the pump
definitely did
fake.
the pump fake. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
definitely did fall for that. I thought Moresca made some changes in the Club World Cup and I was like, okay, I can see his flexibility and his intent in terms of attacking. But I think their transfer window also let them down
Mhm.
this summer. The only game I can say Chelsea have had a good game is a game that they were a man up, and that was against West Ham. Because I remember that game as well. West Ham scored first, then I think
Yeah.
Chelsea scored, and I think then West Ham got a red card, and it was goodbye from them. So there's a lot for them to do because when I looked at their schedule, I expected Chelsea to get more points than they have right now.
Mm.
And I think they are falling behind in terms of those. So we'll see how they're able to get as much point as they can. But yeah, I'm not getting that pump fake. Nah, they got me real good. I won't even lie.
Yeah.
They did. Yeah.
Before we move on from Chelsea, did you see the interview Maresca talking about, potentially got some of those decisions wrong, especially I know you had touched on it last weekend or on the last episode rather, where he was rash or panicked, with some of the
No,
red
no, I
cards.
didn't see the
Yeah, I
interview.
think
Oh,
he
he
had
spoke
mentioned,
about it.
yeah, he spoke about that. He
Oh,
said he's still learning,
hmm
yeah, that was kind of interesting to
which
see,
is
but
fair.
credit to him, right?
Yeah. Credit to him for sure, yeah.
Right.
Because that's his decision against Manchester United. I just could not understand it in any way. Like there were some decisions for sure that you understand, like the taking off of Estavao. I think okay, that was understandable. But taking off Neto and then taking off Palmer, yes, due to injury. But I felt if you already knew Palmer was injured at the beginning of that game, he should have even been the first sub you made instead of Estavao and Neto. But again, he's going to learn. This is the thing about the Premier League, right? And this is why I say managers have to be flexible. You
Right.
have to learn quick. But if you're going to be stuck in your ways, you're only going to pay with it with your job. So credit to him for admitting that he was a little bit rash in his decisions.
Fair. Let's move on. I think the biggest talking point on that particular day was the Liverpool Crystal Palace game. Crystal Palace were home to Liverpool and they caused quite a shift. They went up. I think Liverpool equalized. They went up what was the score again actually?
No,
It
it
was
ended
2-1.
2-1.
2-1. Yeah,
Yeah.
they went up
They scored
one.
first.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then Liverpool, equalized in what felt like dying minutes. And then you think, or at least close to the end of the game, and then you think at this point, looks like there's only ever going to be one winner, considering they've done it numerous times this season already. And Crystal Palace just hit them with the dagger. Thoughts on that particular game?
First word that comes to my mind is blamed.
Is
Palace
what?
blamed. I said the first word that comes to my mind for that game was blamed because they were getting blamed in that first half. Like
They
that
could have been
was
down
the
like 4.
four in the first half. That
Right,
was that was a game that shows you why Alisson is regarded as, if not the best goalkeeper in the world.
right,
Because at a point, I had to start asking myself, like, wait, did Crystal Palace, are you taking some payment somewhere? Because Mateta was moving mad. They were missing chances. Palace definitely did surprise me in the way they attacked. They had a set plan. If you remember last week when we talked about it, I said I can see Palace getting something out of this game. And I even predicted a draw, not a win. But they played very, very well. I think the likes of Sarr, Pino, they were very, very good. Their centre backs as well were extremely good. And Liverpool just looked a little all over the place. It's like putting passes together were a little bit difficult. And I think at the same time, it's looking like Slot is trying to put in a lot of his best players or fit a lot of his best players into the team at the same time, which
right,
you understand, especially when you've spent that kind of money. Those are the expectations that are going to be needed. What's his name? Ekitike wasn't able to play this game, so Isak had to play a lot more minutes than I'm sure they would have anticipated and all. But we have to give credit to Palace because not everybody is going to go against Liverpool and even after scoring still try to put more past them. Liverpool in the second half tried to be better, brought in Kesa, got the goal, but somehow Crystal Palace kept going for it. And if you remember a few episodes when I asked you about what did you think about Liverpool and their last minute winners, and we talked about it shows their mentality of that never give up. And I remember there was something I said that it was not sustainable because when you watch their games and how they play, their defense is much more open than we're used to. But at the same time, when you're the champion, teams now know how you play. And at the same time, Slot is trying to also change his way of play or his style of play, especially with the personnel that they have brought in. So I knew it was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to happen at Palace. I thought it was going to be one of the big boys that would do that to them. But if you look at the history of the Premier League, it's always one of these guys always
yeah,
change the narrative for you.
yeah,
I say good win for Palace. I think everyone are beginning to notice the manager in Glasner. I've always rated him and called him a very good manager because I already got used to him, especially when he coached Frankfurt. That was the first time I knew about him when he coached Frankfurt. So again, good professional performance for them. Credit to them. And yeah, that was my take. How did you see the game?
Yeah, I think in terms of the game, I thought Crystal Palace were by far the better team. They were the better team on the day. I thought they were wasteful in that first half. They had several clear-cut chances. I think you already gave Allison credit, so maybe there's some of that there as well. Um, but yeah, I don't think there's too much. They were the better team. I think, there was something systemically wrong, it looks like, with Liverpool because once it's an anomaly, once you start getting into two or three times, then a trend is developing. And then you could see that, okay, it's not just some random occurrences. Teams are finding weaknesses in the way Liverpool is set up, and they're constantly exploiting that, as you can see with Crystal Palace thing, which I think is a bigger conversation as far as the rest of the title race is concerned. Because if those things are not addressed, then it really changes the landscape of how we look at the title race, which I'm sure we'll get to in a bit. But yeah, you have to give Crystal Palace a credit, and that was 18 games, I think, at the time,
18 games
unbeaten,
unbeaten.
right?
They
So
have the
it's not a
longest in
fluke
Europe.
as well. Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
fluke on their end as well, right? And that run includes multiple victories against against Liverpool,
All the big teams.
everybody, right?
Yeah, they
So
haven't lost to any of them.
yeah, so credit to them. I'm sure Liverpool, there's plenty of for them to go and look at and examine. I think there's conversations definitely to be had about Flora Wirtz or Wirtz, however way you say his name.
Yeah.
Salah looks like he's on the decline, which is crazy because I think in my mind is one of the greatest players we've seen in the Premier League. But something looks off there, right? You would expect like they've signed all this firepower and they should be putting teams away, but you look at the XG numbers, and I hate that XG stuff, but you look at
Yeah,
some
I'm
of
not a
the,
fan.
I'm not a fan, but you look at some of it and it suggests they should be much lower in the table because they've just
Mm-hmm.
gotten lucky a few times, right,
Yeah.
on results. So, question for you as uh, it relates to Liverpool. Did you see the comments about Slot after that game about the
The
player
Palace
and
game?
yeah,
Oh, the one
about the
about the
Palace game?
player that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
or wanted to attack when they were meant to be defending the
yeah.
lead. You know, it's quite funny when I saw that quote because I remember a few weeks ago I saw a quote from the same manager when he said something about the way they were designed or the way he designs the team to play is
Mhm.
like for counter attacks and transitional plays. And it was funny that he made that same comment after Palace saying they should have defended that lead or the player should have tried to like keep their shape instead of thinking of going on the attack. But again,
It was a draw at that point, by the way.
it was a draw. Exactly. That's how I
Yeah.
was going to go. It was a draw at that point. Again, this brings me back to the point when I keep saying the way these managers see the game is totally different from how we see the game. A lot of fans are just going to think it's just bam, 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 go try and get a goal to win. Sometimes these managers say when they're not in the strongest position to make or to take those calls and try to go and win. Like you ask yourself, would you rather lose out on 3 points or lose out on 1 point and take zero, or would you try and take the big risk to go win those 3 points? Right? This manager with we've given him his credit. They've won the league. They're champions. Look at the players he had on that pitch, and he's coming out to say we should have focused more on keeping it a draw at that point in time than focusing on the other part of the pitch. That's because he knew that they got a point that they definitely didn't deserve, and they definitely lost it just because of that one decision. But then again, I think he also needs to be careful because I think we're going on 2 or 3 weeks now where he's called out some of his players, and it's all, especially in the Premier League, is everything is rosy when you're winning. But when you're not winning and when you're not getting results, I think that is where you want to see a manager back his players and keep everybody on the same page. So hopefully he doesn't push away from that because there's a lot of big egos in that team, whether he likes it or not. In the Premier League, when you get a little bit of two bad results, like we have seen with them, and you're seeing how the narratives or what the media is saying, you're having Jimmy Carragher come out to say they don't look like a good team. And it's like a few weeks ago, you guys were talking about we're not playing well, but we're getting the
Getting
points.
results.
And
Yeah,
then your first game or first two games where you haven't gotten anything, the narratives are changing again. This is the Premier League. This is just how the Premier League is.
yeah,
One week you could feel on top of the moon. 3 days later, you just feel down.
yeah,
So I think he needs to be careful about that as well. Do I think he's going to figure it out? I mean, if you've won the league, it means you have something in you to figure it out.
yeah,
But in terms of the pressure, a lot of us have always said we wanted to see what Slot would be like when he faces adversity, right? Like I said, it's all good when things are rosy, but when things are tough, are you going to be willing to make those changes? Like, I'm not saying this is what he needs to do, but in a situation when we're talking about someone like Verts not having the greatest of games, are you willing to put him on the bench, right? Those kind of decisions, are you willing to do that a few more games? What are you willing to do to change it? Would you go back to your formula last season where you had your midfield of McAllister, Gravenberg, and Soboslai? Because he's found another thing in Soboslai playing very well on the right, as a right back, and sometimes he inverts into the midfield. Again, that tells me he's trying to fit in all his best players into the same 11. Sometimes it just doesn't work. We've seen other teams when they buy the very best players just try to fit. We could see it with Real Madrid the season before when they brought in Mbappe. Great player. It just didn't work out that season, right? This season might be a different case. So when you look at it, or you look at Liverpool this season, new right back, new left back, new striker, if not two strikers. Now you have a number 10, which is something you didn't play with last season. So there's a lot of changes he's trying to go through in that team. So we observe and we watch and see.
you mentioned 2 weeks or 3 weeks now where he has come out to openly criticize a player or some of his
Yeah.
players, right? Do you think the pressure might be starting to get to him a little bit in terms of this public calling out? It's only what game week
Yeah,
6 in the league.
definitely. Definitely. This is what pressure does, right? This is what pressure does. We've seen our manager and Mikel make weird comments when you definitely know the pressure is there. We've seen Pep Guardiola make weird comments when the pressure is there. We've seen Klopp make weird comments when the pressure is there. It all points to one thing: there's pressure. Things are not going as rosy as
Yeah, yeah.
like. Let's keep it a buck. Last season, Liverpool won the league fair and square. They were the very best team in the league. But I keep saying, and I said it last season, they didn't get the kind of title race that we've been accustomed to in the last few years, right? So this season is going to be a little bit different. I expect it to be a little bit different. I think Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool are going to be in the title race, but it's just game week 6. Game week 6. A few weeks ago, we saw Arsenal fans having a lot of meltdowns and everything, especially after
Yep.
this Liverpool game and stuff like that. And we heard a lot of their fans talking about 5 points is a 5 point lead. Some of them came out and said, "Oh, once we sign Isak, we're kicking our feet up. We're walking the league." Nobody walks the Premier League. Nobody walks the Premier League. So I think a little bit of pressure is getting to him just based on the loss because it's not just the loss. I think trying to again fit in the new players into the squad. Let's not forget they've spent a lot of money. And we're now in the world of soccer now where people make a big case out of how much you have spent. So he's also going to feel that pressure. Like, I spent this amount of money on Verts. I need to figure out the way he plays. I need to figure out him, Salah, Isak, they all play. At the same time, you have Ekitike, you have Gakpo. So I think there's a little bit of pressure, not high pressure, but I think there's something there. So we'll see.
Cool. You mentioned Man City, right? Man City coming back into the picture. I have them still as one of the favorites. I think I even predicted second for them. Could be higher. Who knows with the way things are panning out this season. The Liverpool game against Crystal Palace actually brought Man City back into the picture as well as Arsenal. Before we jump into the Arsenal bit, what do you think the title race now looks like, right? We now have a 2 point race. Man City is not too far off. Do you still, I think you might have touched on it earlier, but do you still see this as a 3 team race versus two that
Thousand,
people have it today?
1,000%. I called it before we even kicked. They kicked the ball in game week 1. I said for the reason I'm going to put Man City in there is also because of Pep Guardiola. Little did we know is like now I'm watching Haaland and I'm like, has Haaland improved?
I think
Like, are
so.
you trying to tell me that this guy has another level to get to,
I think so.
right?
Yeah.
But then again, when I look at Man City, what I've noticed with them is they play a little more direct now than they used to play. And you're seeing how Haaland is benefiting from that, right? But like I said, they have the players, they definitely have the manager. And then when you have a striker like Haaland, go back and look at all the Premier League champions. They've always had that star in their team. It was Haaland, sorry, it was Salah last season. It was Haaland the seasons before. It was the Agueros and everything. They always have that star player who is able to give them 25 to 30 goals and just make the difference happen. So there was no reason I had to write Man City off because of Pep Guardiola himself. And again, I still believe it's a good team. Last season, there was a lot of injuries to Man City. There was a lot of injuries to Arsenal. And that's why I said I felt Liverpool didn't have as much of a challenge as most people could have thought. But this season, I guarantee you, they are going to have that. They are going to have that much of a challenge. So, yeah, I think
You
all
know,
three teams are still going to be involved.
something that I think a lot of people don't realize is like I went to look at the data ahead of our clubhouse call on Sunday. Liverpool over the last 10 years, when it comes to Premier League winners, have the second lowest. Last year's Liverpool team had the
Mhm.
second lowest point tally for a champion, only ahead of Leicester.
And the last, is
10
that was the
years.
name I was actually going to call.
Yeah,
Like, what did they get up against Leicester?
only ahead of
So in the
Leicester. I
last
think
10 years, so you're saying they were
the
ninth?
84-point total. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it makes sense though.
So it'll
What
be
did they get
interesting to see.
the season they won the league? 2020, 2021. Oh, sorry, 2019, 2020.
99 points.
Really?
99 points. Yeah.
That's what they won the league with?
Yep.
Holy smoke.
99 points.
Okay, yeah, I remember because that was the season they started very, very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Then COVID, then they okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes 99 points.
99 points.
Yeah, that's crazy. So they finished what 84 points last season?
Yep.
If I say I'm shocked, I'll be lying. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
But this is the
just
thing now. That like I said, if you remember, I said this last episode, like it's not the Man U, Chelsea, Man U, Arsenal eras and stuff like
yeah.
that. And then the lower teams or the teams we call the lower teams, they've all gotten way, way
Yeah,
better.
Crystal Palace is on a 19 game winning streak
So
after the
there's
game
there's no
today.
working this league in
Yeah.
any way. Yeah.
All right. The big team, or at least the team that benefited the most from a lot of the points being dropped was Arsenal, turning
Mm-hmm.
our turning our attention over to the game on Sunday. Obviously, all the teams had dropped, or Liverpool had dropped points, Man U had dropped points, Chelsea had dropped points, even Spurs had dropped points, right? And the focus was now on Arsenal. Arsenal was going away to Newcastle, a ground that I think Arteta has lost. I think the only ground he has lost more times at is the Etihad. So
Mm-hmm.
they've
Yeah,
been a
it's
sort of a
hard.
boogie team. And so there was expectation that Arsenal needed to make up ground there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a tough ground to visit. What did you make of that game? Start with the lineup changes that you saw in that game, and then just the performance. Walk me through your thoughts on the performance.
I mean, starting with the lineup again, Mikel surprised us. Like literally when I think you were even the one that sent the lineup or so. When the
Yeah.
lineup came in, the first thing I looked for was Merino's name. And I didn't see him there. And I was like, okay, what's Mikel doing? But if you go back to, you remember when I said when we watched, oh sorry, when I watched what was the team we played? Port Vale or something? The one we played in the League Cup. When I said I noticed Mikel used that game as an experiment,
Yeah.
playing Eze in the middle or the left eight, him and Waneri. And literally, this game, he played Eze in the middle. Played, it was Trossard, right?
Trossard
Started left.
played. We started
Trossard,
with
Trossard, Saka, and Eze.
Trossard, Eze, Saka, and Rise Zubimendi just behind
And
them.
Rise Zubimendi. So when I saw Eze there again, I was like, okay, so this is coming off the experiment that I saw a few days ago. We started the game very, very well. Again, we were direct. We tried to create a couple of chances. Eze missed, Trossard missed. And then, okay, yeah, then we had the whole penalty incident. They went on to score, but that second half was what impressed me the most. If you remember at halftime, I think I sent you a message and I said, I really don't know how Arsenal win this game. And the reason I said that was because of the ground that we were, which was St. James Park. we just seems to have this extremely bad luck and decisions just going against us at that place, especially with everything, right? And it was looking like one of those days
One
again.
of them days, yeah.
Yeah, but somehow I kept telling myself that based on that decision that happened against the Jokeres penalty, I kept telling myself, I said, this could also be one of those days where the football gods tell you that, yeah, you're going to get punished for this. But the second half, I think we came out much better in the second half, right? We came out, we're more direct. And what I've noticed in, I think in two or three of our games this season is we don't panic. We don't play with panic, right? We're still trying to control the game, move the ball around, but we're playing with so much more intent than we've ever done in the last year and a half. So when I noticed that, I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And then when he brought in Marino, I was actually very happy with that sub. I was like, yeah, you bring that guy in, it's time for you to start figuring out other ways to play. Luckily for us, he brought us back into the game. Merino, I think, is one of those players that people still don't give credit to. I'm happy I'm one of those people right from when we signed him. And I said, Mikel Merino, if you've watched him before, he's one of those players that is not flashy. He's not the most technical or easy on the
Mm-hmm.
eye. He's just going to come in to do a job for you. What a lot of people don't know is that he's a box crusher. He's that type of midfielder. He gets the ball, he releases the ball. Sometimes he might be a little bit too slow on it, but that's just the kind of player Merino is. The first time I even noticed him was when I was watching what was his name? Zubimendi. The first time I ever heard of Zubimendi, that was how I got to see Merino. And I was like, wow, this guy is actually not bad. And when we're bringing him, I was like, this is not a bad player to have on your squad to bring off the bench. And if you look at season turn of the year in January, a lot of people don't realize that that guy has turned up for a lot of big moments for us. Like he scored some very, very big goals for us. So he came in, but I think the credit that we need to give for that game was to Odegaard. Odegaard came in and you could tell he was pushing the team forward. The way he was passing the ball and moving the ball was again with so much intent and trying to score. And luckily we were able to overcome all the madness that we saw on that day, especially for the fact that if you look at last season, a lot of the times that Liverpool did draw points, Arsenal did not capitalize on that. So that was another thing again. That was another pressure again that they had to face on Sunday. And luckily for them, or not even luckily for them, because it was by design, and they definitely won that game. They were far the better team, created the most chances. So credit to them, credit to the boys. I remember I even sent a message and I said, if Arsenal lost that game, it had nothing to do with Mikel. It was all going to be on the players. That very game on Sunday, it was all going to be on the players. Yeah. How was it for you?
St. James is just a difficult place. It's been a difficult
Mm-hmm.
place for us to go. So there is some nervousness when you go play there just because of the backdrop of the history that we've
Mm-hmm.
had. Um and then the context of the game that we had before, the earlier Liverpool dropping points and
Mm-hmm.
all of that became almost a must win, right? If
Must
you're
win.
gonna try and close the gap. So there was some jitters around that. But I'd also said on the last episode that I wanted something that was like punchy, like gutsy, right? Go there and
Yeah.
leave a bad taste in their mouth kind of thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's exactly what we got. They're always a very combative team. I don't know if you remember, within a few minutes, within the first 10
Joe
minutes or
Linton.
something, Joe Linton just
Yeah.
takes Saka
Just
out.
clock Saka down. I'm
you
just
know,
like, wow, it's gonna be one of those days
yeah, it's
again.
about to be one of those days where you're going to have to fight for everything. And that's the message they're clearly trying to send, that, you want to beat us, you're going to have to come do it. What I really liked about that, though, was we stepped up to the plate. We stepped up to the challenge, right? We weren't afraid. The guys were winning duels all over the pitch. With the midfield three were being dragged all
Mm-hmm.
over. I think Declan Rice had an amazing
Amazing
game,
game.
right?
So it was really good.
So that was good to see. And then the VAR incident, which I'm sure we'll touch on very soon. At that point, it just feels like, here we go again, right? You
Yeah.
remember Joe Linton from a season
Yeah.
or two ago, the ball that did or did not cross the line. Like, you're thinking, is this just another one of them ones? But I will say this though, I think Gyökeres, who, as you know, I'm a little bit touchy on right now, had
Mm-hmm.
one of his best first half or best halves as an Arsenal player. He
Yeah.
ran the channels tirelessly, was a willing runner the entire game. So that was good to see. I like that Eze got in and got the start. it just felt more fluid with him in
Mm-hmm.
there, right? So that was good. But yeah, all in all, I'm glad that we got the set piece to win the game. Two of those set pieces there at the end gives us an added bit of threat. Teams know if you sit back, you're inviting more pressure, which means more corner kicks.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get bit one way or the other, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's touch on the VAR incident because there's so many inconsistencies that we're starting to see. When I think it was, I think Saka played him through on goal. That's Gyökeres, right?
Yeah. So yeah, Saka got the ball, and I think there was a
Bubble or
lot of
whatever.
bubble. Yeah,
Yeah.
the bubble, and yes, yeah.
And then Gyökeres ran through on like first watch. You could see that the keeper took him out. In fact, you're thinking, is this a denial of a goal scoring opportunity? Like all my thoughts at that time was, is Saka taking the pen or is Gyökeres taking the pen? Right? I did not even think that there was a world where we'll be looking at that incident and a pen wasn't given. And ultimately, they went to the monitor and you could see that they said his toenail or whatever touched the ball first and they overturned the penalty. What did you make of that decision?
You you already know my take of VAR. I'm not a
Uh,
fan. I have
yeah.
not just been a fan of. Till today I still stand by it and said VAR is one of the things I'll take away from the game, especially in the Premier League. I'll keep the semi-automated offsides and stuff like that. But the reason why my problem is not with VAR, the technology itself. My problem is with those who interpret the law, right? Because I watched it and it was a clear penalty. And what actually got to me was why were they taking so much time to review that? And then they came up with the explanation that Nick Pope had touched the ball.
Right.
I said, yes, but how did Nick Pope touch the ball? He touched the ball because it was played by Gyökeres. If Gyökeres didn't try to take the ball around Pope, he wouldn't have touched the ball. But outside that, Pope still hindered the man from a goal scoring opportunity. So even that touch doesn't matter. Whether he touched it or not, it is still a penalty. Let's take it back to the week before when Umbuemo and Sanchez had their clash. Sanchez touched the ball. It was still deemed a foul because he also stopped a goal scoring opportunity. Now, my second problem with this was the PGMOL, where these are the incompetent people that seem to be the ones in charge. Players have come out, managers have come out to tell them that VAR will not be used, I'm not talking about this season, to re-referee a decision, right? And in this very instant, there was a clip I heard on X. I think it was part of the American broadcast. They were the
Yeah.
one that got that aspect of it, where you could hear the VAR almost trying to push the referee into a different decision. And it's like, again, why is it that it's up to these referees to decide when and how to implement the law? Keep it consistent. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the podcast I sent to you, the Whistleblowers podcast, the one with Mark Clattenburg.
I haven't, though. You just said I saw a clip
So
on X, but I haven't
yeah,
watched the full
so I
thing yet.
actually went to watch that podcast because I wanted to get a full. And two things I got from what he said. First thing he said, which to me I think a lot of people should listen to. He said Howard Webb is a man that has his own agendas, right?
Well, that's dangerous.
And that is very dangerous because this is a former referee who we've regarded as one of the best referees in the league.
Right.
He said that. He said Howard Webb is a man that has his own agendas. He gave a little bit of an example. I'm not going to put the example in here. I think everyone should go listen to it. But the other thing that Clatterbox said was when he was in charge of referees, right? What he used to do was every week or every 2 weeks, they will have a roundup where everybody discussed decisions that were made in that time span, right? The reason he did that was because he wanted to put in the heads of the referees so that it becomes something that is consistent. So when they see certain situations, they already know what the outcome should be. This is a handball. This is a foul. This is a yellow card. This is a red card, right? But he has gotten feedback from people that he knows that are still referees in the game that Howard Webb doesn't do this. And it makes sense to me because it's like if you're in charge of referees, every week or every 2 weeks, you should all have a huddle and say, okay, these are the decisions that caused a lot of problems in the media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you that was a ref, tell me your thoughts behind giving this decision. And whoever was a VAR, was your own thoughts about you advising this decision? And when you do that on a constant basis, it becomes a rhythm. It becomes a thing where everyone knows that if this is what we see, it's a penalty. You know what that leads to? It leads to consistency. What is the problem we have with VAR in the Premier League? Is consistency. Because something that is a penalty today is not a penalty tomorrow. When Clattenburg said Webb had an agenda, again, it took me back to last season when we played Brighton. You remember the penalty that they gave against Saliba? Saliba touched the ball first. And this same Howard Webb said that was not enough for it to not be a penalty. But now you're coming again when another player touches the ball to say that this was a penalty because he touched the ball. I also watched the clip when he was talking about Lamptey and Gabriel Jesus
Yes. Yeah.
last season. I don't know if you noticed the way he was trying to differentiate
Yeah,
the
it
situation
was
there.
pitiful.
And I was just like, you are not making sense because all you're trying to do is back your referees, which I understand. As a
Yeah.
leader, that is what you're going to want to do. But where is the lack? This is why we have lack of consistency because there is no accountability. And it also leads me to that stupid ref watch program that they have. They
Yeah.
should cancel that stuff
Yeah.
because it makes no sense why we have a program dedicated to referees' decision that has been on for about 2 years now, but we've not seen no improvement. So what does that tell you?
What are we
It
trying to
just
get at?
tells you
Yeah.
exactly what we're trying to get at. It still brings it back to Howard Webb coming down to just cover assets for somebody. So that's why I said when Mark Clattenburg said that Howard Webb has his agenda, for a fellow referee to say that about you, it is scary because we've seen the same thing that happened with the other ref. What's his name? David Coates or something. The one that talked about having problem with clubs and
Liverpool, yeah.
Liverpool. These things happen. They are humans. And I'm glad it came out with that guy because some people think that, oh, these refs can't make personal decisions or change decisions based on how they feel. They are humans. But if someone is coming out to say the head of the PGMOL has his own agenda, I don't know if the agenda is towards club or towards the game. But like I said, I employ people to go watch that podcast. He gave an example of something that happened in the Euros, 2012 Euros, when he worked with Howard Webb. And that again makes no sense. All we're asking for is consistency. If this is a penalty, is a penalty. I remember last season when they gave the red card to Saliba at Bournemouth. Do you remember the one?
Yeah,
When he
yeah.
was going on the ball, they gave the red card.
A week
The
after.
very next week, I think it was Chelsea
Chelsea, yeah,
or
yeah,
something,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that was a yellow card. And it's like, again, where is the consistency? But guess what? Howard Webb is going to come out by the Wednesday and cover it up or give us some gibberish. And it just keeps fueling these conspiracies that whoever wants to jump with it will jump with it. And that's why I keep saying I'm not a fan of VAR. I think they should scrap it and just because we have incompetent people that are managing and enforcing the laws of the game.
Speaking, there were other incidents in that game that I'll come back to just in the interest of transparency for everybody listening. But I think the two worst decisions, in my opinion, that happened this weekend was that one you just discussed and the Man U Brentford game,
Yes,
Mbeumo
the
through on
Umbuemo
goal,
one.
the penalty.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That wasn't given as a red card. In my mind, that's as clear as a red card
And
you
what
could
was the
see
reason?
that he didn't have control of the ball. And I couldn't understand. I'm like, the reason the man didn't have control of the ball is because he was
Because it
fouled.
was impeded.
Like, so yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It just makes no sense, man. Like
The
every week we get something
the
and we'll
I
find
think
something this weekend.
there was a Gabriel call so that
Mhm.
we kind of don't come across as too biased here. The
Yeah.
Gabriel handball. Did you think that should have been given a penalty?
No. And the reason I say no again is because I am going by the law of the PGMOL. His hand was in a natural position, that is one, because it was a slight tackle. But the most important thing was that the ball went off his leg and was in close proximity to his hand, right? That is why it was not a penalty. So again, I am going by their law. But guess what? Let's take that same incident to the Champions League. In the Champions League, that is a penalty because by their own law, his arm is that far out, right? So they look at it that he's making himself
Bigger.
bigger,
Yeah.
right? So in the Champions League, that is a penalty. So if that was given a penalty in the Champions League, I can't argue against that because, mind you, we found that consistently in the Champions League. We have found out consistently in the Champions League because there have been some handballs in the Champions League and we'll be like, come on, man, that's a little bit soft. But that's their rule.
Right.
So why is it in the Premier League? It's so difficult to hold up to the rules that you set.
I don't know. We see this week in, week out. I think in the case of Arsenal, thankfully, they were able to get the win. I think Manchester United could feel very hard done by.
Yeah,
It's
they
likely
should.
they end up
They
losing the
should.
game anyway. But at that point, they
Mhm.
would have been looking at a penalty to, I think it was equalize, or yeah, it was to equalize. It was
Yeah, it
2-1
was
at the
going
time.
to, yeah, it was 2-1 at the
It was
time.
2-1 at the time. They could have equalized the game, and they could have had a man advantage, and maybe we're looking at a different result today. So some of these things I think they need to really address. Um,
One more.
which other
Did
one?
you remember the one with Mohamed Salah?
The goal that,
Yes, I go.
yes,
What did you think of that?
I thought it was a handball, but then I think the VAR thing was it was inconclusive. They couldn't see evidence that he touched the
What
ball.
makes that inconclusive?
Bro, man, this thing is crazy to me. I don't
Like,
know what.
this is what we're saying. Like, where's the consistency? You could
Yeah,
say his hand is clearly high. I would say he's in a natural position because he jumped, right? So definitely his hands are going to be up. But that is a handball.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is week 7, or at least we're going into game week 7. We're still going to see, unfortunately, so many
Every
more
week.
talking points.
Yeah.
You just
That's
hope
why I
that,
just don't like talking about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're almost at time, but we have a few more things to kind of touch on. Since I think we're talking about the Arsenal Newcastle game, so we'll stay on Arsenal and then kind of just quickly run through the Champions League game. Arsenal played at home to Olympiacos, and it was a 2-0 victory. It felt kind of touchy at times because we didn't convert a lot of the chances that we had, and could have been one of those games. But ultimately, it's unbeaten for Arteta now in how many games in the Champions League? The longest stretch or so for Arsenal.
Yeah, I think in the group stage, I think in the last, including this season, which should be 3 seasons, I think he's lost maybe one or two,
I don't think he's
maybe
lost at
two.
home
At
in,
home, he hasn't lost,
and he
yes.
hasn't
I think he's
considered.
kept it shit in all of them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
We don't need to get too much into the game just so we can look ahead to the weekend. But what do you make of the start to Arsenal season so far, right? Like it at some point it looked like the world was ending when you see people
Yeah.
talk about playing with the handbrake on,
Uh-huh.
especially after the 2 results against Liverpool and Manchester City. But ultimately, when you look at the picture, if you just zoom out for a bit and look at the picture, we've played, what is it, 7 games? I think it's been, or is
In
it eight?
total, 9 games.
9 games. So
9
that's
games in total.
6 in the league. Yes, 6 in the league, 2 in the Champions League,
The Champions
1 in
League.
the Carabao, and we've lost 1 and drawn 1, and
Yeah.
kept clean sheets in 6 of them, I
6.
believe.
6, yeah.
What does that picture look like to you from at this point?
I mean, I think that, or this message is going to be for the knee-jerk reaction fans. I'm happy I'm not the kind of person to just react based on results. I have been there before. I've been that type of fan before. But now I always just try to look at things in a different way. And like I said, the first few games, I'm expecting how we're going to play is going to change. If you
Right.
remember, I said between game week 6 and game week 10, I think that's when we're going to start seeing the identity of this team, right? So I'm happy we're already at game week 6, and I think I can come out and say we're already seeing a little bit of a different style of play. Like I said, I noticed Mikel is going to be a little bit more direct. We're going to try to play on the transition sometimes, and I have to just bring in Gyökeres into this because his last 2 games, and I think including the Athletic game in the Champions League, 3 of these games he didn't score, but I liked what I saw because I saw the team was adjusting to him and I'm seeing him now adjusting to the team, right? I think we're playing more direct. The way he likes to play, he wants the balls through the channels, released as quickly as possible. And I've seen that in those three games, especially the last two games. Man City's game, it wasn't really like that. So I'm happy to have seen that. I think the game yesterday, I think we saw the Odegaard we haven't seen in at least a year and a half. So I was very happy to see that Odegaard back in the team. And again, I was watching the game yesterday and I was just like, I remember I messaged one of my boys and I was like, man, Arsenal's squad depth is really stinking.
Did you see the
Like,
picture of in the at the game where there's the bench and then
yeah,
the guys that did not even play, Jesus and
this is
Kapi, it's like another bench.
Nomi, Havertz, they were
Yeah,
just there chilling. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, the dynamic of this team has really, really changed.
right.
And I think I would give Mikel credit to what he's done since the last international break is he's tried to maximize this squad,
Everybody,
right?
yeah.
If you remember, I sent before the game yesterday, I sent you guys a question when I was like, what kind of lineup do you think we're going to see in the Champions League? I think you called that, or I said Eze might not start. I remember saying I can see the likes of White starting. I can see the likes of Martinelli starting. I can see Saka being dropped off. And literally he did all those things,
Yeah.
right? So I'm happy he's making use of his team. I'm the kind of person that like a little bit of a consistent 11, especially for like your league and everything. But I understand where he's coming from because the quality in what he has in his squad depth is the one he can really rely on, right? Like yesterday, you're seeing the likes of Skelly come on, you can rely on Skelly. Ben White came on, you can rely. Gabriel looked like he had a little bit of a niggle. He didn't even, he took him out, he
No
brought
time.
in, no time, brought in Mascara in. He was okay in leaving Eze and Saka on the bench because he had trust in Martinelli and Trossard. He still had the likes of Waneri on the bench, Dorman on the bench, Odegaard and Merino played. Then he took out Merino and brought in Rice. So I'm happy he's able to use the quality that we have in that squad. And hopefully they are understanding the chemistry, their performances just increase from there.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat that Arsenal has had substitute score in 5 consecutive games for the first time since 2004. So that just
Brilliant.
speaks to the depth in the squad. So yeah, fair play. Let's quickly turn our attentions to the weekend. At least a few games that jump right out. We'll start with Arsenal. I think of all the so-called big teams, right, they're the ones that play first on Saturday. They host West Ham. What do you expect? Nuno's game.
I want to beat this team. I think
What?
if you check it, I think we've lost to West Ham at the Emirates in our last two seasons.
Yes. They've also done a number.
Yes, they've
Oh,
done a number of
they're
us
getting the work
at
for
the
sure.
Emirates. So I really, really want to beat this team. But most importantly, I want to see Eze, Odegaard, Saka in this game.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see you. I think I messaged you that it would really hit like crack when you have those players all playing together, Saka,
Yeah.
Odegaard, Eze. But honestly, I don't get too caught up in the lineup as much, right? Because like I said to you when you asked me that question, I'm like, just give me 3 points. Whatever
3 points.
it takes to get the job done, I'm
Yeah.
with it. It's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. So I understand that players will come in and fill in for other players from time to time.
And
I
they have a
do.
new manager.
Yeah, Nuno. They got a decent point against Everton, I think, earlier in the week. But
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch that game.
yeah, I
Actually,
saw
maybe I'll
that.
go look
It
to
was a
watch
good
that
game.
game.
It was a good game.
Yeah? Yeah, I'll go look
Yeah,
for the game tonight.
yeah, but I expect Arsenal to take maximum
Yeah.
points there. And I
Yeah.
have maybe something for the prediction police. So I'm going to go with a 3-0 win. The prediction
Yeah.
police, you heard it
I
here.
would go the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go the same. Yeah.
Um,
Three.
this game really shouldn't be on our radar as a discussion point, but unfortunately, this is where we find ourselves. Manchester United hosting Sunderland the same
They
time on
play
Saturday.
Sunderland.
Yeah, they're hosting
Old
Sunderland
Trafford?
at Old Trafford. Yeah,
This is gonna be a tough game for
that is why. Like,
Man.
it shouldn't be a game that should
I've
even
seen
bubble
two
up.
of Sunderland games, and
Yeah,
it's going to be a tough game for Manchester United for sure. And I can tell people now, I don't think Manchester United win that midfield battle. That's the first thing I know. Going to be a very, very tough game for United, but yeah, I think Sunderland will get something like a draw. So, but just for the fact that the international break is here, I can see my
I
boy
think
Ruben
United will win.
getting a win
I
and
see.
stays again for a long time.
I see United winning that game, although the more likely outcome to me looks like a draw. The reason I think they'll
Draw.
win is I'm thinking about the Burnley game, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to be very close, but the problem is with the game being at Old Trafford, those are the margins that can kind of
That help
tilt
them. That
things,
goes to
right?
their
You know,
favor. Yes, yes.
if you saw the game against Burnley, I think they should have. I don't think they deserve to get anything out of that game, but they won the game, and they won because at the last minute, the Burnley defender, I don't know if it's nerves, it's fatigue, but Old Trafford is still Old Trafford at the end of the
If
day,
I was putting money,
especially.
I'll bet a draw.
Yeah, I think a draw seems like a
Yeah,
more
I'll bet a draw.
likely outcome.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll skip this one so we end with that. But Brentford hosting Manchester City on Sunday.
Oh, Brentford is at home.
Brentford is at home. The G-Tech Stadium.
Man, Haaland is on some crazy form. Oh.
You think? You
But that's
think?
again another tricky game for City.
Yeah.
It's always been a tricky opponent for them, home or away.
That could
I'll
be a
go
draw.
City win. That could go, but I think I'll go City win. Haaland's, because I don't think Brentford's attack. I can see Brentford getting a goal, but I don't know if their defense will be able to hold out Man City for long.
For
And
a
I don't
long
know if
time, yeah.
Brentford's attack will be able to score more than one. But one
Yeah,
thing I'll tell Man
actually,
City to be wary about, the long throws.
yeah.
That's another set piece
But they
for
do have
Brentford this
Donnarumma. I
season.
think Donnarumma is very tidy in the box.
Yeah,
He's very commanding. That's where I
they're
think that's
very
an
commanding.
upgrade in that position as far
Yeah,
as commanding the
but
box
I'll
is
go
concerned.
City win. I'll go
Actually, I'm
City
with
win
you on that
because of
one.
Haaland.
I'm with
Yeah,
you on that one. All
yeah.
right, let's end with I think the biggest game of the week is going to be on Saturday. Chelsea hosting Liverpool. What do you think? Both of
Chelsea's
these
living.
teams actually need this
Chelsea is
game.
living with some. But please, Chelsea, keep your discipline record intact.
is what, three
Because if
games
they
now?
don't, Liverpool will tear them apart. If they lose a man, I see Liverpool winning that game. If
Yeah.
it's 11-11, I'll go for like a 2-2 draw, maybe. Yeah. I think Chelsea will get something for this game. They've had some very bad results lately, and I
Yeah.
think they will get something. I'll predict a draw for this one.
Man, that would be tough. Liverpool coming off 2 consecutive defeats and then getting a draw would be
It's
quite
the
a blow.
Premier League.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Premier League. What are you thinking?
I don't know, man. But I think I submitted my prediction for a Chelsea win, but I watched that game against Benfica yesterday.
Yeah, they were not the greatest against Benfica.
I wasn't convinced that they could
Uh,
take anything
no.
away from Liverpool, man. Liverpool
I
is
think
still
it's
a good
another
team.
game because they are Stamford Bridge. I'll give them a little bit of
I
they
mean,
can get
they
something.
got the
But
work
I'll
from
I'll, I'll
Brighton,
go draw. True, but again, like I said, down to the stupid discipline
which
issue
we're
that they're
not
having,
sure they can get rid
which we're
of.
not sure of. Yeah.
So,
The thing is, I don't even know who their centre back pairing is going to be for this game. Because Chalobah is definitely out with the red card. I
right.
don't know if Fofana is back. Tosin, I think Tosin has some issues. So I think it's going to be Achipong and someone. Whoever, I don't know.
You see, I think the thing is when there is so much uncertainty, like you are describing now, it's hard for me to see any realistic outcome where they take something away from Liverpool. Liverpool is a team that if they just do what they're supposed to do, get the players on,
That's the
very
problem
likely they win.
Liverpool. That's where Liverpool are facing that they've been facing this season. They haven't been at their best.
I
They're
know
still
now, but
trying to
you have
figure a lot of things
two
out.
teams that haven't been at their best. One is clearly better than the other. That's the
Please,
problem.
we're
But
home. Please, we're
we'll
home.
see. You know what? I'm going to Chelsea win, man. I'm letting my heart
Yeah, I think
speak.
I'll go a draw for that one. I
I'm
would love a
going with
Chelsea win, but I think I'll go for a
I'm
draw.
going with the Chelsea win. Konate got something for me.
Yeah. And one more game this week that I want to watch.
Which one's that?
Leeds and Spurs.
Well, them boys, man. I think Leeds
I
beat
think
them.
Leeds have something in that game.
Yeah.
I've seen 2, 3 Leeds game. I know I saw the one against Everton. I think that was their
They've
first
impressed
game.
me, actually.
I keep telling people this, like, if you watch them play, they especially at home, their problem is goal scoring. But I think because they signed Calvert Lewin towards the end of the window, He played their cup game. He's played a few of their games now, and he's getting a little. Their last game, he should have had a goal or two. Who did they even play their last game? I can't even remember. But I know I saw their last game, and he was a little better. Spurs, I saw their game against Wolves. They were not really the best. I saw their games against Bodo Glimt. First half, Bodo Glimt was all over them. But the thing about Spurs is Thomas Frank is always going to make his teams difficult to beat. But I think the problem Spurs are having now is the goal scoring. Richarlison is piss poor.
He's being
Kudus
himself,
is
man.
literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Kudus is their best option to get anything attacking wise and stuff like that. And I think Polinia has been their best season, best player so far from the few games that I've seen. So I actually think Leeds is actually going to get something out of this game.
Yeah, I think Spurs dropped 2 points, and that's for the prediction police. Yeah, I don't know that I can confidently say Leeds will win,
Win, yeah.
but I think a draw seems like a more likely outcome. Because it looks like right now for Spurs to get a result, they have to be comfortable getting 2 goals, right? And it's getting
Yeah.
tough for them to get 2 goals in a game. I know they did in Bodo Glimt and I
Yeah.
think even in the Wolves game, but those were comeback results. So I just don't think they have it right now. And I know when the season started, we are hearing a lot about Richarlison and things just seem to have fizzled out. Same with Kudus, although I really rate Kudus, right? But you look at the numbers.
If you watch their game, they
It's
are
the
literally their
outlet.
best.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
he's their
outlet.
outlet.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
even taking
and
anything away from him.
teams have been doubling him too. Is the
Yes.
other thing I've noticed.
Yeah.
They've actually been doubling him like a lot. So if you kind of shut him down, Odegaard, Johnson, Richarlison, he's been playing Xavi a lot off the left, which I don't understand why. Put that guy in the middle. But yeah, that's why I think that for sure they're gonna have something. And I think sooner rather than later, I think the Leeds attacking lineup, I think that Okafor guy, Calvert Lewin, I think those guys will find something. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Let's end right there. I'm sure we'll talk on Sunday on our banter call. For anyone
Yeah.
listening, definitely can join in on that on Clubhouse. But yeah, and we're always in touch anyway. Like we're all
Definitely.
the same WhatsApp groups and everything. So I'm sure we'll be keeping in touch until next time we get back on here.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Definitely
Enjoy
will,
the
my
rest of your
G.
week.
You too.